What were you doing before we engaged?
So before we engaged, Protean was basically being produced by a closely held but different software development firm. Um, that company dismantled, and so the specific Swift developer that was working on Protean was mid-stage inside of a sprint and could no longer work on the project. So it kind of left me mid-project.
What job were you trying to do?
So Protean is divided into a back-end server, I guess, clearinghouse of information. The front side of it is an iOS-based application where the information is captured and gathered out in the field. That is obviously the most important aspect of Protean is it's delivering that information into the servers, and that was the project that we were mid development on a major overhaul, making it a native application where before it was kind of a hybrid cloud-based inspection platform.
So what's the business problem that Protean tries to solve?
The business problem that Protean tries to solve is the current state of the industry that we work in environmental compliance is very much old school with carbon paper, carbon copies, data transfer in a manual scan state to get information about non-compliance at a site into people who can make decisions to correct it. And what Protean does, specifically the aspect that nascent and the iOS side of it, it expedites that process by getting real-time information from the field, hundreds, thousands of miles away into those decision makers so that things can be responded to timely with environmental compliance regulations as well as threat recognition or risk recognition.
What frustrations did you have before you engaged us?
Well, there were several. I'd say the most pressing was just the fact that owning a software business internally, but not knowing how to do it yourself. So, as a lawyer and business person, I understand the field services component, what needs to be done, but not understanding what goes into agile software development was the biggest challenge, especially as working with a group that was dismantling made it incredibly challenging to try to understand where we're at and assess what needed to be done to maintain the current production we were doing.
Where did you first hear about us?
So first heard about you from a mutual contact from our CPA firm. Very trusted advisor, handles all of our financial matters. Can't recommend it that I work with Derek.
And what piqued your interest?
It was good timing. I expressed to David the frustrations I was having and at a pretty big turning point as to whether we were going to continue to try to maintain Protean as a product, as continue with the spinoff of Protean to its own corporation, or completely turn to where 7G would need to outsource that to a third-party product. And so David, being as mindful as he was, understanding our business, said, this is somebody who can really help you, not only from a production standpoint, but somebody who can advise you as a consultant on those business decisions.
What made you decide to do business with us or pull the trigger?
I think the presentation that you, Derek, had coming in, matching personality types, matching level of trust and integrity, that's really important to me. And David's word goes a long way. Pretty much, I trust when he doesn't recommend people lightly, and when he does, I at least give them a shot. And so, also having somebody who could still kind of review to give me that little bit of insight that I don't have, not knowing the details of production, to give me that, all signs leaded to it was legitimate and worthwhile operation.
Describe working with us.
So working with you was twofold. We had a product manager on staff who worked directly on the day-to-day sprints and details, use requirements, acceptance criteria, and then I worked at the higher level with Derek on consulting as well as kind of big picture needs assessment.
In what areas did you get the most value, and why do you think that was?
So most value is twofold. On the one side, obviously, we have the product completion, on time, on schedule, as promised, which was a huge relief. So the actual coding and finished product. The other side was the comfortability of working with Nascent and that higher level consulting that I did with Derek as to making some business decisions regarding spinning Protean off as its own product and company.
What results did you achieve from working with us?
So the biggest would be the stability associated with that iOS product. It enabled us to be able to put that on the side and focus our efforts and capital back on some of the client demanded server side issues. So really, it was just a relief of stress knowing that that stability was there and that we could continue on as on our larger development plan without the disruption that was presented by losing that Swift developer mid-project. You mean it's from?
How did the project transform in its nature? Was there better quality, stability, speed? Was there a transformation in the project, or was it just a continuation?
So the transformation of the project started out obviously with a scope to have parity with the current product that we have. Obviously, going underneath the hood and making it a more robust, a more stable system. That, of course, with some client demands, working with a new developer group with Nascent, obviously proposed a couple of side roads that we went on that were adapted to very well. And then the finished product being a parity plus system that we're able to use and that is scalable so we can add things to it in the future.
What areas of your business life improved and by how much?
So the how much I would say is considerable. So as you can imagine, running two separate businesses, one which relies on the other, the distraction that was presented by Protean not having the iOS component being completed, there were several bugs associated with the current state, which is why we were overhauling in the first place. So it was a very high stress, high attention component of what I was doing on a day-to-day, and be able to literally pass that over to Derek and Nascent and say, you got me, and they say, yes, I got you. I can now focus on the exponential growth that 7G was facing since October and allow the product manager and Nascent to take that completely off my plate.
How likely are you to recommend us?
100%.
Why should someone listening take action right now?
So twofold. One, if you're in the same situation that I was and that you need an immediate fix, that you're in a bind, the professionalism, response time, and actually following through and getting something done when they say they can and actually ahead of schedule and under budget was unheard of in my experience thus far. So if you're in a pinch, Nason's definitely somebody to go to right now. If you have a longer term project, obviously we're at a stage of kind of maintaining and monitoring where we're at, but we will always go back to Nason as one of our first options for longer burn projects in the